Testing, testing. Does it work? Yes, it does. Very good, colleagues. Let's all give a high sign to today's presentation. Business analyst in sales department, sell the project and die, not die, perform. Let me introduce myself. My name is Andrei Podlesny. I'm working with partners in CBatch. My background, I've been working with clients for 17 years in different positions, and in the past 9 years I've been in the IT. Hopefully I'm not going to leave that. And ever since my coming to the company, my main advantage is that the revenue of the company has increased 20-fold. Now I'm passing it over to my colleague Yulia. Hello, my name is Yulia Shevtsova. I'm a business analyst in the sales department of CBatch. Over the past 3 years, I've been working exactly on that. My background is finances, and in my CV in the past few years, 14 pre-sales business class A. That's what we're going to speak about. Business analyst and sales department sell the project and not to die, but instead execute it. Who might find our presentation useful? First of all, there will be analysts, full or part-time analysts, used to assess the project at the pre-sale stage. Moreover, if there are analysts among our audience who are used in commercial projects, external projects, then you might also find our presentation interesting, because often there is a need to calculate new functionality or new requests from the client. And if there are team leads in the room, stack managers, stack analysts, I'm sure that our presentation might also be a useful insight for you on how to organize the work of two departments, the sales department and production department, in a win-win scenario. Very good. Julia, let's go throughout the room just for interest. Who is a business analyst in this room? Raise your hands. Who considers himself more like a systems analyst? Maybe you have product analysts. Very good. Maybe somebody is occupying managerial positions here. Very good. Very good. Thank you very much. Data analysts. Of course, data analysts. Very good. Super. A few words about the agenda here. Our presentation is going to be subdivided into four blocks. We'll speak first about the factors leading us to the question about change in the work of pre-sales team and production team. We'll speak about what it used to be before, what kind of prerequisites we had. We'll show you what solution we have invented for CBatch company. Of course, you need to understand that there are some particularities of this company. We'll describe the material part. Julia will tell you how framework is organized, what kind of practices we use, what artifacts, what rituals. Generally speaking, we're going to pay more attention to the project assessment, proposals to be prepared, and the cherry on top would be some post-mortem practices. And in spite of the fact that it's still an ongoing process, I'm talking about the change process within the company, all the key changes have been done, and through the new framework with the connection of business analysts and the sales department, we have done dozens of different pre-sales where we can show our statistics. Snapshot of the company very quickly, not as part of plugging ourselves, but for you to understand what kind of place and role is played by CBatch on the market, the model that we suggest, who might find it fitful for you and why it is efficient for CBatch. Because it's not a universal means, rather it is a method which fits us in this scale and profile of the company. 16 years makes our company quite mature. We have done hundreds of projects, yes. 200 engineers plus, size of our company 12 stacks. All of them are key and crucial to implement projects of different complexity and sophistication level on the one hand. On the other, clients have their own IT services, and we don't have such a task to connect our clients or tie clients to us forever, because there is a need to develop functionality with the use of our team as well. The pie chart, there was a question where we operate. The main thing is fintech, electronic education, e-medicine, network and security as well. A bit where we are in the world. We work on the internal market in Russia. We work on the internal market of Australia. Uh, this is about our team. Of course, there are some overlaps. We have offices in Russia, we have offices in Georgia, we have offices in Armenia, Turkey, and some representatives in other countries. Geography of our projects that we have and are still ongoing. We still have ongoing clients in Europe, among also among our focus markets, Australia and United States. Now you understand our profile. Let's try to dive into the gist of the matter. I like very much this meme, the irony of which is that the person who passed on the project sales had a divine energy. And the irony of the matter is that at the pre sales level, the sales team started to gain a lot of knowledge, and the receiving party knew almost nothing because they had never been shaped up at the pre sale stage, and it was always like seeing something new. And also, the detail of preparation and artifacts for the receiving party might cause some additional questions. The key pains are focused here. We had no available analyst. You understand very well, whoever worked at the pre-sale stage, that each client has their own deadline within which they want to get the result as some kind of a vision, some kind of assessment or bid or proposal to start. When we saw that there is no analyst available and he will be made available after some time, this is a showstopper right away. And also in the Western market, the available analyst doesn't always have the required level of English. Working with a production analyst, taking their time from the projects for part-time, overtime. We have worked with different people. We didn't have same or universal methodology. It was a very creative approach of big specialists, of course, but each one of them imagined their role and participation differently, and their own contribution was also made individually. And the justifiable question of production, who validated the mistakes, because production didn't know how to do this. Third problem was the difficulty in the transition of projects to the production. Of course, there was a ritual of transferring the projects to production, but it was always unclear who is going to do that. The production team from scratch encountered the project. Moving on, what did we decide? The classical conventional approach is when the sales department, say, in my person, and salespersons were asking for an analyst and pre-sales, and analysts had commercial type projects or internal investment projects. The decision that we have arrived at, we have identified business analysts, made them dedicated specialists for the needs of production by including him in the team, and Julia, as a representative and leader of business analyst in our team of sales, participates in it and knows all the internal parts. Sales understands how we work with the client. All of this means that it's a full-fledged participants of the sales department. But the matrix structure is such that purely professional and technical, a business analyst is in the stack of analysis. What it means that all the meetings, also rituals, development maps, roadmaps, competence descriptions are fully in line with the level of the C batch company. And Julia is one of the such actors of the production analyst group. Here you can see a conventional team role of those players who in each pre-sale exercise participate. Of course, the team has some leeway for maneuvering. We can add a CTO or even CEO there. As a sales department, we can do this. Or engineers are shown here as a single word, but they could be different people. But generally, it's sales manager, delivery manager, business analyst, and engineers as well. The influence map, let's look at who is who here. The client engagement, client validation at the pre-sale stage, development strategy, and proposal related to the commercial part in the presentation moderation is the responsibility of the sales department, and some additional transaction documents, whatever is needed, like proposals as artifacts, are done by them. So the delivery manager, this is the person from production. They get connected, and they get connected after the validation of the scoping. They validate both the strategic part, they validate the valuation because they will stay with the project later on. They participate in the client presentation of the client part by answering the question, how are we going to do that as a project? Of course, analysts are working on the requirements and potentially they work individually with the client. As a result, they see whether the client gets what they really want. It's also done at the business level and the technical uh, approval, the assessment of the project with the engineers, they assess it with them, and preparation of the presentation and the technological part of the proposal. As a result, there are no engineers here because this is bullet number 3, assessment of the project with engineers, with production engineers. Julia, over to you, please. Yes, thank you very much. And now let's look at our pre-sale framework that we have developed and that we follow within our team. As you can see, it contains certain agile cycle of rituals and events and activities that start with the start of the valuation of the project. This is the request of sales manager to us to do the methodology. Then we start the Scrum cycle of rituals and events, which consists of specification of requirements, development of the strategy, assessment of the project, and proposals to the client, preparation of these proposals, validation of these artifacts with the delivery manager, presentation to the client, and receiving feedback from the client. Usually it takes 5 to 7 working days depending on the sophistication of the request of the client. And ideally, it ends with signing of the contract for the new project. Next, we do pre-sale kickoff meeting, and the cherry on top here is pre-sale project analysis. Now, I suggest we dive deeper here and look at the material part of the key stages of this framework. We'll start with the project valuation and preparation of the proposal, of course. Where can we find this stage in this framework? It is highlighted in blue. After we specify the requirements and develop some within our pre-sale team, the strategy, how we're going to move forward, we move to actions. Now, let's look at 2 key artifacts that we prepare in the process of project preparation. First, the actual doc file of the project evaluation and the proposal. Let's start with the first one because this is the basis or the foundation for the development of our proposal for the client. We approach the project valuation in 2 ways. First, we prepare, depending on the input data, either a high level valuation, the so-called rough valuation, or a detailed estimate based on a hierarchical description of tasks. Let's start with the first option, the rough high-level estimate. When do we apply it? In fact, first of all, many of us are analysts who have been used in the past to assess the project at the pre-sale or upsale stage. You have encountered a situation when we get just a regular blank white sheet with the request to assess the project. So these are high-level requirements for sure, and we as analysts have no way to specify detailed requirements. There is no time, no stakeholders available to us. Second option is when the client himself needs to get a rough figure. The client doesn't need a detailed assessment. They need to understand the overall scope of the system. And the third option, we as a team, the future vendor, needs to validate the client and their request to see whether we are on the same frequency in terms of understanding the complexity of the project. For instance, the client thinks that it is easy peasy task, it will take no more than 3 months, but we see that it will for sure take years to implement. For that, we apply the first type of assessment, the rough assessment or estimate. Here you can see the screenshot of the artifact that we really use. This is not something that we prepared for this workshop. This is a screenshot from our artifact. The only thing is that whenever you see what we're going to show you, you find useful to be applied in real life, you can find it in Google Docs to share with you. with the actual links to these artifacts. Otherwise, of course, it is stored on our corporate drive storage. What is the high level rough estimate? In fact, this is a role distribution among a team, which we believe will be needed to implement the assignments under the project. Okay, it's going to pop back on. Then would be calendar times, that would be weeks, days, weeks, or years, which are subdivided into the assessment of um, workload for a team against the FTE for each stack. So this is the high level estimate that we do with the technical experts, and based on our experience and the experience of implementation of previous projects. Now, let's look at the second option of the estimate, which is much more detailed based on WBS, work breakdown structure. What would this artifact look like? I understand it's a fine print, but I'm going to share this artifact presentation with you. Now I'm going to read through it. First, we prepare a detailed list of tasks, assignments, user stories, broken down in the stages of projects, versions of the product, because when we get well developed and detailed specification or TOR, our customer, our client can say that I want to see it in MVP and this in the next version. And we put a special mark next to it to stack it together later on. And then we identify modules and services. If all of a sudden we'll have to change the scope, it is easy to do that. And then we identify the boundaries and comments to shape up one of the key parts of our commercial proposal. Then please see those columns are all stacks which are necessary for implementation of the project, starting from project manager, ending with DevOps engineering. This table in hours assesses the key part of the work, which is important, the key part of the work at each stage of the project. Why I'm underlining this? Because all the auxiliary work, like the supporting work, is assessed with the use of parameters. This is also our real artifact list of parameters from our estimate, which we use to, for instance, assess the level of workload of our manager as a percentage from the overall workload of the team, or the analysis, supporting analysis as a percentage or share from the overall development workload, also QA engineer, share from the overall workload. That's how we develop the overall workload for the whole team based on WBS method.
Besides the main jobs and activities, there are such things as code review, fixing code review, bug fixing, support of test operation, support of the version of the software. We forget about this. Not to forget, we also um, envisage a certain percentage of time for that. So, and we use the method of iteration that means a set of communications inside the team and with the client's team. Not to forget about this time, we also have a certain percentage for communication in the team. So, the assessment of the time for the key activities, we add additional supporting activities, communication in the team, etc. But that's not the end. What do this parameterization of work gives us? So first of all, we do the assessment. Whoever does the assessment, we have a clear methodology for that. We accelerate the whole process because assessment is done with the involvement of key stacks, and all the supporting ones are assessed with the help of certain parameters. We also have a risk model. This is our current risk model in our company. I Those other companies don't share risk models, but we decided to share it with you because we don't hide it from our clients. So we will have a look at the technical and commercial proposal, and during the presentation for the client, we highlight the risks that might be relevant, and we also show how we plan to mitigate the risks. So let's speak about each and every uh, point here. Like Socrates said, I know that I know nothing. So, underestimation of the labor intensity of activities. So, because we might be mistaken in the understanding of the complexity of the task, unknown dependencies, there's a scope that has been assessed, but during implementation, additional requirements appear which are critical. Client is sad, we are sad, but we also have a certain percentage for unknown dependencies. Agreement with the client. Even at pre-sale phase, the client says that we have a very difficult acceptance procedure. Please envisage additional time for that. If it's upsale, we know the history of our communication with our client and take this information into account. So there's co-implementing units and legacy. So there are projects where we are not alone, where we share the work with the client or other companies. And of course, we need to envisage additional time for communication, for merging our projects, etc. Legacy code will also require some time for merging the code branches. Fixed price, time and materials financial model. This is the model that we use. So this model means when the project team works for a certain period of time and then invoices the number of hours for the client. Some clients don't like this financial model. In this case, we fix the budget and uh, in this fixed budget, we also envisage certain risks. It does not mean that all these risks are envisaged in each and every assessment. No, projects are different. And our clients often ask us, does your assessment include risks? So for them, it is very important and it shows our maturity. We had a look at our methodology about how we assess our projects, parameters, and the risk model. But it was just the preparation for the main artifact proposal, or technical and commercial proposal, as we call it. So, project assessment, this is an internal artifact. It will not be shown to the client. We are preparing a better document or a presentation for the client, our proposal. Well, based on our experience, business analysis of the sales department is responsible for 60% of proposals for the clients. It's not the sales manager who is preparing these proposals, but this is a teamwork. Me, being a business analyst, I'm responsible for the following areas. So, key functionality. It's the screenshot of our presentation. What functions are part of the project? I'm kind of watchdog, watching that no magic, no fantasy is included into the proposal, so that we propose to the client only things that we assessed in reality, no fantasies. I am also responsible for the preparation of the top level architecture and technological track. The majority of our projects are ordered by clients. We don't have out of the box solutions, almost none of them. So it's important to show to the client what will be the components of the solution and what technological stack we are suggesting to use. Another section is development roadmap and team workload. This is the same table that we had in rough estimates. We show this table to the client so that the client understands what will be the workload for the teams. And we show full-time specialists, part-time specialists. If the project is complex, containing several phases or versions, it is also important to provide a roadmap to the client. Another section is the results and scope of the project. Again, business analysts should guarantee that proposal contains a clearly formulated list of the project outcomes or results. It's not something abstract. We will do it in the best way. No, these are clear and specific results. Project scope in WBS, there was a column with comments and boundaries or scope. Then we also include this information into the client's proposal. We describe what were the predeterminations for our assessment, what are the limitations for our assessment, and what do we expect from the client to implement our project. So, why analysts participate in the proposal preparation? As I mentioned, no magic, only realistic proposals, implementable ones. When an analyst prepares and the presentation and participates in the presentation, they provide information about the architecture, about the workflow, the team composition, and the project results and scope of the project is the starting point for the future contract. It's worth mentioning that neither project assessment nor proposal will not be proposed or presented to the client until it is validated. And who validates it? This is what Andrei will tell you. So in our revolver, the blue point, this is validation with the delivery manager. Delivery manager is answering one simple question. Production is ready to accept the project for implementation. So, this manager tries to imagine that he or she is able to ensure this implementation of this commitment, that they can do this. So the value of the DM at pre-sale, delivery manager finalizes parameters and risks based on the feedback or information provided by the analyst, including financial margins and financial indicators of the project. They also identify roles and set up the plan for the project. The second important task of the delivery manager is to uh, implement a resource management function. It's not only front end, back end, QA. DM ensures pre-staffing of the future project to get prepared so that they don't look for the staff when the production has already started. And the third aspect is seamless submission of the project for production. So delivery manager receives this project into his portfolio together with the manager and the future team. They will work on this project and deal with the clients, and the manager will be responsible for delivery. And there's no need in recalculation of the project budget and everything from scratch. They just go deeper, providing more detail, etc. So there should be synergy instead of competition here. From pre-sale, the project is transferred to production. We added two more rituals to our pre-sale framework. This is pre-sale kickoff meeting and pre-sale analysis. Pre-sale kickoff meeting is the first meeting. It's not the meeting of the project team. No, it's not the meeting with the client. No, it's pre-sale kickoff meeting. The main purpose of it is to organize a seamless start of the project. The whole team of the project and the whole pre-sale team participate in this meeting. What are the tasks of the business analyst from the sales? First of all, to submerge the project team into the project history, tell them about the history of communication with the client, what are the client's expectations from the project. Besides that, he needs to describe the whole context, what are the needs to be covered, and then transmission of artifacts. So we submit all the documents that we received from the client, all the artifacts that we produced, like top-level architecture, product vision and scope, project assessment, proposal, and recordings of technical calls with the client. Then we sit together with the team, open the assessment, the proposal, and start discussing in detail what are the risks, uh, what we need to pay attention to, what are ready-made solutions or out-of-the-box solutions for that, etc. And one more ritual is the pre-sale project analysis. This analysis is done either at the end of the project or at the milestones of the project. What is the main idea? The idea is to test our model of parameters and risks. At the beginning, I was showing you the percentages, the percentage of time for the supporting activities, the risks that we apply. Well, and in order to confirm or adjust all this, we do this pre-sale analysis. Project manager from production participates, a business analyst participates as a representative of pre-sale, and delivery manager participates in this process. The process takes from 1 to 3 business days. We are comparing the actual results of the project with the plans at the pre-sale phase. We check the team composition, the scope of work, the labor intensity, and the margins, the financial indicators. The results of the pre-sale analysis serve as the ground either to adjust the project parameters or to validate and confirm the project parameters. Andrew, tell us about the results. Well, it's too fast, yeah, and I hope that you're following us. A few words about the results. We try to cost what we have, to quantify. So we have a look at the timing and how it changed, the preparation of pre-sale and proposal, before and after the work of the business analyst. This indicator has improved. Feedback from clients. This is one of the KPIs for business analysts in the sales department. It means that the client should provide feedback about the activities of the business analyst. For example, I like the detail of the proposal. Uh, Unfortunately, business analyst is not a salesperson, and some commercial or organizational aspects might be missing. And we should not mix up the criteria for the business analyst, but the client needs to provide a feedback about the business analyst, about the satisfaction with the business analyst. I I'm satisfied with the detail of the proposal. So the client shares this during the presentation, but we send this feedback request right after the meeting. And internal customer satisfaction, when we have a single methodology, when the customer knows what kind of queries and requests should be addressed to whom, to the delivery manager or to those who did the assessment, etc. This is quite unified. Of course, internal satisfaction of the team is very important. Summary. Analyst is a highly skilled person. It's a mixture of business and system analyst, and this package of competencies is available right here and right now. Single flow and methodology for project assessment, and business analyst is a guarantor of technical implementability of the project. That was our presentation. Thank you, and we will be glad to answer your questions. I am Ivan from Kiva Labs. The topic is very relevant. Thank you for your presentation. So we have a similar approach in our company. The analyst that goes to the sales department, I don't know, does he or she work with the sales department? And when you transmit the task, is it the same analyst who deals with it or a different analyst? Thank you. Well, from the organizational viewpoint, me as a business analyst of the stack analysis, I'm working at the sales department. Andrew is my manager. When we receive the request comes to me directly. So 99% of requests are processed by myself. If I need some specific competencies or there's a specific area, for example, there's a VPN solution and I will go to the production, to their analysts, and I will ask their analyst to work with me in pre-sale. And in this case, I will be just coordinating, and this analyst will close and cover the competences that I'm missing. Well, and the sales department analyst is dedicated to the sales, but he's not doing the sales itself. So he is aimed at doing the knowledge transfer, and he might provide advice at the early stages of the project. But the analyst will not do the project in production. Well, in our company, during this transfer, there might be problems. Some information is lost and missing. So, how do you resolve this problem? So, the last 2 points in the framework that I showed, they are aimed at ensuring a seamless transfer, the transfer of project from pre-sale to production, and we pay a lot of attention to this phase. My main task, it's not like one meeting, there might be several meetings. You need to check artifacts, sit together. So when the project team comes to the kickoff with the client, they should to start interacting with the client right at the point where I left. They should not ask the same questions. They should be aware of what has been done before.
Yes, Vanya, look. There might be a few kickoffs, internal kickoff, pre-sales kickoff, and the production team is approaching it well prepared. So this is not a situation when we say, okay, what do you have to offer? And the artifacts that we have, they need to be studied. There's an internal kickoff and result based dialogue, and then there might be an external kickoff with the client. And the external kickoff, that's what the internal team must be prepared for from the standpoint of understanding what Julia was talking about. I'm sorry for taking too much of your time, but and specifically before the external kickoff, you finalize the contract with the client, right? Yes, that's my question. Two things can go in parallel with each other. There's a moment after which the team might say, the company might say that we can issue it into production. It's not a waterfall here. When the physically signed product agreement is here, only then we send it to production. It's part of NDA. We as a company allow ourselves to start transfer, so it's done on the parallel. It doesn't slow it down because this also has a start date. Thank you. Слушай, так иди тогда уже это. My name is Misha from X5 Group. I have two questions, but they're not about business analysis. The first one is about this express estimate, rough estimate. There is often a situation when experienced engineers are invited to the team, but they're used to work with detailed documents. They ask thousands of questions and they say, sorry, we cannot tell you. And how to make sure that they do it at the rough estimate level. What do you do? Thank you very much for your question. Indeed, this is the process which is currently ongoing and being improved. Each one of the stacks has technological experts, in other words, engineers who have been trained and know how to work at a pre-sale level. They're called technical experts. And that's who I'm going to approach whenever I need an estimate. Why do I designate that specifically? Because they know how to work at the high level. This is a certain competence, Misha. This is the ability to make a step back and look at the project from the bird's eye view. I'd say that some management level, so this is a team lead level. If we speak about experience, you need approaches, you need experience and some competencies that our technical experts can confirm or not. But you made a right note. Of course, you cannot cultivate everyone into this level. Yes, and there's another thing that we can simply touch upon. It's either a discovery phase or solution design, which can start when there are too many unknown things, but the pre-sale team should lead the client to that. And the justifiable first phase would be to identify the research and discovery phase. So your criteria, whether we go forward or not, or we can specify it for you for some additional cost. Yes, exactly. This trio of an analyst, delivery manager, and sales is the triangle can answer this question. The strategy of proposal preparation, the strategy of addressing the need is based on that. You cannot simply promise the client that will nail it home when we cannot really understand. It's a reputation risk. We don't want this. Thank you. And the second question, it's about fixed price. When indeed it's fixed price, you cannot do it other way around. But it's a complicated project, and you need sprints 2 weeks at a time. Can you combine the two? Julia was right when she said it's a very good question, and in fact, it's deserve a separate conference around it about fixed price. Indeed, we managed to work in most of the cases with a caveat that our client profile would not be huge corporates, but rather smaller size clients who we allow to work like this. That's why most of the project is done in this motivated form of payment. How to live in this paradigm. A client wants to get a fixed price. We identify a certain target. We, of course, can commercially agree on different levels of achievement or unachievement, underachievement of this thing. If we go over this, that would be joint risks. We share them as costs. How do we work internally? We have a target. Internally, we still have an iterative development. We will be showing how much we burn down, and that's up to the manager to prioritize backlog, to revise the scope, maybe. So internally, there's still some flexibility. But indeed, each sprint and each moment in time during the acceptance stage, we show how much is still left and identify the key priorities. Fixed price is what? It means fixed scope, fixed budget, fixed time frame. That is why if we have a fixed price as a thing written in stone, automatically it will give birth to a flexible scope. And if client is ready for that and prepared for that, we can help them with that. And in the production mechanisms can be ensured. And you discussed it in the very beginning that you're going to use this kind of approach. Yes, if the client needs to have this. Thank you. A question asked by the curator. Thank you very much for the presentation. Indeed, I a curator, and it was interesting for me to see how well can a work in the company be structured. Thank you very much for such a structured presentation and a story about your methodology. I have a small question that I couldn't find an answer to. You have just drawn your pre-sale cycle as an agile mechanism. Yes, there is a cycle of 3-7 days. It repeats again and again, or can it or not? Yes, indeed. It repeats itself. If after client presentation we get a feedback from them to make some changes in it. For instance, so we wait for feedback from the client, and the client says, "Okay, guys, it's too much. It doesn't matter whether it's too long or too expensive. Let's groom the functionality and look at the VP volume." So we start the next cycle. Again, we optimize the functionalities. We prepare the updated proposal and present it once again. Do you discuss it with the client how long this pre-sale can take, how many cycles it can go through? Yes, Natasha, I can underline that before we prepare the proposal or application for pre-sale, there are a number of stages. Sales framework, they do come to us after undergoing certain stages of sales, and at the time when they agree with the client that we start preparing the estimate, our sales managers show the client about the same snail like picture to make it more transparent for the client, to explain why it takes so much time, and what steps will be undertaken by our team, and their sales materials contain the same kind of snail picture. Based on our experience, the client is going to give us two iterations usually. After the first iteration, of course, we synchronized it with pre-sale stage evaluation of the client. They are prepared to give us the second iteration, and here the timing is important. And it's important to hit the target from the second part, because if the third iteration starts, it's not always acceptable either for us or the client. Based on our experience of working with the client, usually it's two iterations. The third one is a possibility, but it's rather an exception. The fourth iteration is a no-go. Either we doing something wrong or the client. Thank you very much. I just wanted to say, Andrei, can you show the last slide? There we have our contact details posted. We're here today with you, and if you want to continue the discussion, you can take a snapshot of this. Let's get together, let's communicate. And we have some presents to distribute here. We have two flyers from the conference that gives you t-shirts, and our two personalized gifts that Andrei and I would like to give out. So we had 3 questions. That's how we're going to distribute them, right? Here you go. Mikhail.